before I get started, I would ask just for your thoughts and prayers for two Warriors. First of all, the all-time leading scorer in the history of Arlington ISD, Danzel Williams, had shoulder surgery at the University of Oklahoma yesterday. As I understand it, is recovering very nicely. Will be redshirted this season. You're going to have to wait 1 year, but I think we're going to have an opportunity to watch him on our television sets for the next 4 years. So please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And then also today at our scrimmage against Allen, Dimitri Gilden broke a small bone in his leg and is scheduled for surgery tomorrow morning. So I would ask that you keep those guys certainly in thoughts and prayers. I want to tell you a little bit about our program, but before I do, I want to say thank you very much to all the people that support us. You don't have a first-class program without having a tremendous support system. And that support system for us just jumped in leaps and bounds because Marlene Roddy, I don't know if Mrs. Roddy is here right now. I know she was here earlier. She's right over here in the corner. Is the brand new principal at Martin High School, and she's fantastic. If you're new to Martin football, I'd also like to encourage you to get involved in our booster club. When I first came here 5 years ago, we had 220 players in our program, and our budget was exactly the same as it is right now. And it was hard to generate a great deal of enthusiasm because I think in great part that comes from investment, work ethic, and ultimately wins. At this point right now, we're nearing 300 players in our program, but our budget remains exactly the same. And so what our Booster Club does, along with functions like this that generate enthusiasm and support for our program and our players, it also allows us to suit up every one of these guys, plus others, in the very best that money can buy as far as protective equipment is concerned. I don't care about fluff. It doesn't matter to me if we have new uniforms every 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. But I do care about making sure that we put them in the very best helmet, the very best shoulder pad, the very best every pad that they make to protect them, because that's what we owe these guys for making the investment that they make. And so I encourage you to get involved in our Booster Club. Also want to say thank you to the groups that are out here supporting us tonight. You know, it's one thing to go out onto the football field and work out when it's 105 degrees outside with a helmet and shoulder pads. It makes it a lot easier when you go out there and the band is already out in the concrete and they spend 4 hours out there as well. And our drum line's with us tonight and they're outstanding. Please give them a round of applause. Directly in front of me, the defending national champion Martin Warrior cheerleading squad. And to your left, another group that's always out here with us oftentimes while the lights are on in the morning because it's still dark outside, our championship caliber Sundancer squad as well. Guys, now for those of you that have freshmen in our program and those that have kids that have been involved in our program for the last couple of years, you've heard this speech before, but I want to share it with you again. Our goals for this program and the goals that we have for the 300 players that are involved with us are very, very simple. First and foremost, we want to teach life lessons that help them be successful once they graduate from this school. That's our #1 priority. And I also want to add the fact that I apologize, I'm the only coach that's here tonight. Our coaching staff is in Dallas scouting Plano West, who's our opponent next week, versus Highland Park. And so they took off at 6 o'clock, went and scouted our opponent. But please know that our goal #1 is to teach the life lessons of passion, commitment, loyalty, work ethic, unselfishness, things that will carry them through to be wildly successful well after they put their helmets and shoulder pads away. I have an office directly inside that building. It's in the far north end. I've got a cell phone that's on 24 hours. I prefer that you keep it in relative daylight hours, but I've also got an office phone that I'll always answer, and if I miss you, I'll always call you back or email you back as quickly as possible. I want you to know that my door is always open to you. I have an opportunity to spend a great deal of time with the thing that's the most important in your life, and I understand that. I'm a father myself, and please know that we're humbled to have the opportunity to spend the time with your kids that we do. My door is always open, and I'll talk to you about anything as long as it has to do with making your son or your daughter a better athlete and a better person. The one thing that's not a debatable topic is playing time. That's a coach's decision. And when you have 300 players in your program and only 11 can play at one time on Friday night, typically that means I've got 289 sets of upset parents because they think I'm making the wrong decision. I say that in jest. I appreciate the support that we have. But please know that the things that we're doing in our program go well beyond the plays that happen on the field. I hadn't forgotten what it's like to be 16 and 17 years old. I understand the investment that's been made. I know how important it is. And I also understand the emotional highs and lows that go along with sometimes having a great play on one day and having your heart broken on the next. And so I would ask that you encourage them, regardless of what their role is on our football team. I'll promise you it's important. These guys have paid a great price to be a part of our football team. And I look back to a year ago, and I've had several people that have asked me that. Coach, how do you rally back from a team that sent 9 guys to college for free on football scholarships? How do you rally back from a team that back-to-back has now had the 2 winningest seasons in the 30-year history of this school? And I would imagine it's the exact same formula that you apply in your everyday life. There is no shortcut. And when you look around that weight room in December and you see all those guys that have graduated, sometimes it leaves a little bit of a lump in your throat and say, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And then guys start lifting weights twice a day. And then Columbus Day comes around and they're in the weight room at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then the 4th of July comes around and Memorial Day comes around and we got 75 to 100 players in that weight room. And then we start our summer strength and conditioning camp, and we average over 200 players that attend our camp every single day. And we got a dozen coaches that work it up here for free for 7 weeks, 4 days a week. Then you start playing 7-on-7, and you go 1-2 in your first tournament, you go 2-1 in your second tournament, and by the end of the summer of 161 football teams that entered the Red Bull National Championship, the Martin Warriors ran the table and went undefeated. We have 2 schedule adjustments that have happened in the last month, and they're going to be great things for our community, for the southwest side of Arlington, and certainly for our football program, and it's going to highlight all of our programs. Our opening game against South Garland will have a full camera crew from the organization that's producing a documentary that will be played on national television from Red Bull for winning the Game Breakers tournament. You're going to see camera trucks and lights and probably gigantic Red Bull cans all over the place, and that's going to air in a 5-part series, and the major focus is Martin High School and our route through the summer to win that championship. The second happened late this week, and we actually signed a contract yesterday. Our second home game against the Bowie Volunteers will now be moved to Saturday night, September 24th, and will be aired live on ESPN nationwide. Those are some of the exciting things that are happening in our program. The one thing that I didn't make mention of, and while it's not the most important thing, it's certainly real close to right up at the top. As I mentioned, these guys have made a tremendous commitment to be a part of this football team. We are extremely proud to represent the southwest side of Arlington, James Martin High School, our families, friends, and everybody else that sits in the stands and wears silver and black. It is our intention to bring the state championship home to Martin High School this year. I try not to get too high or low about things that happened in scrimmages, but we've made a conscientious effort to try to scrimmage the very best football teams we can every year that we've been here. 5 and 6 years ago, it was South Lake Carroll coming off back-to-back state championships. The last 4 years has been against Allen High School, who's currently ranked number 5 in the country and number 1 in the state. For those of you that were there today, I know you know that this is not an exaggeration, that your sons dominated the scrimmage today. My final request to you is this. It's my promise to you that our football team will always be very well prepared. It's my promise to you that we'll do everything that we can to teach life lessons and treat your children just like they're our own sons. It's also my promise to you that we're going to play this game with class, and we're going to play it with a fanatical effort that people are awed by because of the amount of effort that goes into the way that every one of these guys plays every single play, not just in games, but in practice. I challenge you to match that effort in the stands. Your enthusiasm, you being vocal, you being here when it's still 100 degrees outside. I'm around these guys in the locker room. I hear the things that they say. And if you don't think it's a factor that we outclass everybody that we play in the stands by standing up and cheering and being supportive regardless of whether the ball bounces our way or it doesn't, you're wrong. We know what's going on in the stands. And I thank you in advance for being as fanatical as we are on the football field. Have a great year.